You know what, this might be the first one of these that doesn't have a single spider or some type of subliminal reference to Spider-Man, so that's the thing. And you know I had to come with the Venom shirt for this one. Let's get going. Venom: The Last Dance is the sequel, the third installment in the franchise that is Venom, that began back with 2018's Venom, continued with 2021's Venom Let There Be Carnage, and here we are with the third one, and allegedly the last one of these Venom movies, Venom: The Last Dance. In this film, we pick up where we left off with Venom at the end of his previous film and Spider-Man No Way Home. If you know, you know. I don't see why you wouldn't know. The movie is old and made all types of money. I don't know why you wouldn't have seen it yet. But in this one, Venom and Eddie are on the run for what happened to the cop at the end of the previous film. And not to mention, we've all seen it in the trailers, Null, who is sending his forces to Earth in order to find the symbiotes. And he's searching for Venom in particular for a reason that is explained in the film, but I'm not going to necessarily go into it right now. And so we get a bunch of fun and kooky stuff with Eddie and Venom being on the run and symbiote fights. And that's pretty much all that I'm going to get into without getting into too many spoilers here. This is going to be another non-spoiler review. And you guys know I like to get into a little bit of my history with this film, and when it is a franchise like that, with the characters. And I have been a big fan of the character of Venom, and Carnage as well, but Venom specifically since I was probably like 4 or 5. I'm going to take you back to Christmas 2005, and I received a DVD of the 1994 Spider-Man cartoon, and it was like all the Venom episodes on this thing, and I just thought that was so awesome, and I would watch that thing back to back, and I just thought that was so awesome. So that was my first introduction to Venom, seeing him in the 1994 Spider-Man cartoon. And when I was a kid and I knew that he was going to be in Spider-Man 3, I was really excited for that. And when I was probably 18, I think at the time, when the first Venom film came out, I was pretty excited for that. I thought it was going to be cool. I didn't think it was going to be all that great, knowing my track record with Sony, but I was excited to see that one as well. And since then, I've had kind of a love-hate relationship with the Venom movies, because indubitably these are some of my favorite characters that they're putting on screen, and they're fun movies, and the action is always fun, and they're funny, but they don't always tend to be the greatest films. They're not necessarily terrible films or anything, but they're not necessarily really good films either. So there's like this weird relationship with the Venom movies here. And not only that, but like knowing that Null was going to be in this film, I was pretty excited for that. I read the King in Black series as that was coming out, and I was really like into that series when it was happening. And I proceeded to read more Donny Cates' Venom afterwards, going back and reading some of that. And I read the Venom series that came out thereafter King in Black. And I had fun with the first 10 or so issues of that before I fell off of it. So yeah, there's a history here with me and Venom, and I really dig the character a lot. So I was wondering how this one was going to turn out. Before we get too deep into that though, we're going to do this like we do it every single time here, and we're going to get into some of the good, we're going to get into some of the bad, and then we're going to get into some of these stats, my guy. But let's start off with some of the good here. This film is it's funny. At a lot of points, there are a lot of jokes in this film that land. The action in this film is probably the best it's been in any of these Venom films. And in fact, I don't even need to say probably, because I know without a shadow of a doubt the action in this one, especially in the climax, is some of the dopest action that we've seen in any of these Venom films, hands down. In particular, the climax is like just dope as fuck. I think Tom Hardy and his portrayal of Venom and Eddie Brock has always been kind of weird and kooky for me, but he does come in this movie and he acts well, especially in certain scenes where you see him like being awkward or like feeling uncomfortable with certain circumstances that are going on in this film, and you can kind of see like, yeah, Tom Hardy is really good in these Venom films. Unfortunately, I think that's about all the good that I can say about this film. This film, especially in the beginning, like it's one of the first things I noticed when I was watching the film. Like they have this serious music playing in the background, and they're just throwing out these things that are supposed to be jokes, but they're not necessarily that funny, but they're throwing them out rapid fire, and it's like, yo, like I understand like the idea of juxtaposition. It works perfectly in the Deadpool films when there's this poppy song intro and he's just murdering people. In all three Deadpool films, that works perfectly, the juxtaposition of that, but it's a fine line that you gotta walk to keep like this stuff from like just kind of ruining the tone that you're setting here, because they have these scenes that are supposed to be really serious and it's kind of killed with the jokes. There are a decent amount of times in this film where characters will make stupid decisions that we already know that you know better than to do, because you've already said it previously in a scene that, hey, we shouldn't do this. And then 5 scenes later, you're doing that same thing, and it's like, you literally just said not to do that, and now you're going to do it again. Just for shits and giggles. There are other characters in this film who like, when they give you these characters, like, they just, like, shift the character, and it's like, you show this character and you begin to establish them in one way, and it's like, okay, I think this character is going to be like this, and then when you start to see them interact with other characters, it's like, oh, that's kind of like a flip of a switch right there. Like that is not how you were setting up this character to be at all. And honestly, it doesn't even come that much into play until the end. And it was like, I don't want to talk too much about it because it's going to be giving things away. But it was like so dumb, and I was thinking of The Flash. There are a lot of leaps. And when I say leaps, I mean like Superman leaps in logic here, with character decisions and just suspension of disbelief, because like, I know, like, yes, we're all on board with like believing like aliens and all that shit. Whatever, cool, fine. But other things, it's the simple things where the suspension of disbelief comes in, ironically. But that's how it works. Like, when you don't get the simple things right, like security measures at certain places, I'm saying that and everybody's gonna be like, okay, I remember, okay, I get it. But yeah, when you get simple things like that, like security measures at certain places, like my suspension of disbelief is just like thrown out the window, dude. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And I guess they tried to like explain why that would be the case, like earlier in the film, but like it doesn't work. It just doesn't work for me. I don't. It's a no for me, dog. There's also a little bit of emotional manipulation in this film where it does the thing where they're trying to get you to feel emotions that they don't necessarily earn from you, especially not in this installment. But they still want you to feel that way, and they do their best to do that with music and whatnot. But man, I'll tell you, like, right before the climax started, I was ready to write this thing off and be like, yeah, I don't know, I'm feeling like a 30% on this thing. But then the climax came, and I was like, oh god, this climax is so cool. Like, and I don't want to spoil anything, but like, this climax is like so badass. Like, it like I said, it's hands down. I mean, even from the beginning, it's one of the best. Some of the best action in this Venom franchise that we've seen up to this point. And that climactic scene, it is the best action that we've seen in this movie. It's the best action that we've seen in this franchise. In any of these Sony movies, it's the best action that we've seen in any of these Sony Spider-Man Venom films. It's really good. And it does a lot of work to try to save the movie, for me at least. But I've said about all that I can. I'll probably think of more after I finish recording, but for now we're going to start breaking this thing down into the grades. For a casual movie-going audience, we're going to give Venom 3, and I was straddling between this, but we're going to give it a D+. For movie fans, we're going to give Venom The Last Dance a D-. And for critics, we are going to give Venom 3 The Last Dance an F+. But despite all the flaws that I have listed off in this video, I am still going to say go ahead and see Venom The Last Dance in theaters. I think it's still one that you can go ahead and see in theaters. Like I said before, I have a love-hate relationship with these Venom films. I forgot to mention pacing. The pacing is kind of off. It feels a little bit longer than it is. It's about an hour 50. They could have cut some stuff out in order to more flesh out other things that maybe you needed that, or they explain other things a little bit more. I don't know. It is what it is. It is what it is. But yeah, like I said, I still have these love-hate relationships with these Venom films because even though they're not the best films, I still find them extremely charming, and I still like a lot of aspects out of them. Even though they're not my favorite films at all, but like, I would be lying if I said I just hate these films and I think they're terrible films. I don't think they're terrible films. I think they have a lot of redeeming qualities, but I don't think they're perfect either. And I think we're going to call out when they're not that good. But that's about all I gotta say here, man. Get down in those comments and let me know what you guys thought about Venom The Last Dance. Let me know how you guys are feeling about Noah. Are you guys excited for that? Are you guys pissed that Tom Holland's next Spider-Man movie is allegedly going to be a Noah story rather than a grounded Spider-Man movie? I am too. Get down in those comments and let me know what you guys think about this film. Let me know what you guys think about life. Let's talk about life. I will see you guys next time. Later.